And my guest this evening is in the person of Dr. Stephen Olawi. Good evening, Dr. Stephen. Good to have you with me. Hello, Dr.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
All right, great. Good to have you here. So, like I said, I know this is something that a lot of Lagosians, at least I can speak for that. I can speak to that rather, that they struggle with getting proper sleep. I don't know about the rest of Nigeria, but you see how the hustle and bustle in Lagos, as they say, is real, because some people are waking up at as early as 4 a.m. to get to their place of work. And sometimes this also has a huge effect on them. Some people eventually suffer from insomnia, and that is as a result of their sleep habits. So I know that sleep is something we all just do, and once you just lay your head, you're just hoping that you go to La La Land and and you're good to go. But what does
of course.
Yeah, so from a medical angle, right, what does sleep do for us?
Okay, thank you very much, and for having me. So sleep is one activity that is very important, and it affects the whole human system. And that is why when people suffer sleep deprivation is usually it causes a lot of problems. So I'm just going to mention some few things that it causes. Number one, when you sleep very well, when you have quality sleep, you have what we call healthier heart, right? So when you sleep, the body drops your blood pressure, right? And that helps in terms of risk factor when it comes to cardiovascular disease. Also, when you sleep, there is a lot of inflammation that is reduced. So most people who don't sleep very well tends to have quite some of inflammations. And then some hormones that should be released during sleep that helps to balance, the blood vessels also affected. So another thing is sleep help with stress management. So a lot of people go into a lot of stress. One way to relieve that is having a good quality of sleep, because it helps the body shuts down most of the neurological systems. And then another thing is memory, right? People who don't sleep very well to have memory issues, because when you sleep, your brain makes connections, your brain consolidates the signals or whatever you've learned during the day, and then it kind of when you sleep. So people who tend to miss the sleep or not have quality sleep can have issues remembering things. Another thing is, it is when you sleep, the body repairs itself. When you go to your daily activity, you go through a lot of wear and tear, right? And so to that sleeping, the body repairs those tissues, releases those hormones that helps in those repair. Another thing that is important with sleep is immunity, right? People who sleep very well, their immune system suffers from that, and then that predisposes them to, infections usually that they will not succumb to. Then one other thing that sleep does is mood stabilization, right? There's a saying that if you wake up at the wrong side of the bed, somebody wake up dodgy, they are touchy. So while we sleep, right, body kind of dulls those emotions such that when you wake up, you're much more objective, your mind is clear. And that is why it's also the saying that when you have a problem, sleep over it. Because at that point, the emotions are dull. And then one important thing also that we should also note, sleep helps with weight loss.
Really?
Right? So, many hormones that, that triggers, So, and that's why I said that it's one activity that affects the whole human body. Right? So, there's certain hormones that helps with our appetite, right? Ghrelin. So, those hormones are produced well when you sleep. So, people who are sleep deprived can get. Then, when we talk about improved concentration, right? Energy and alertness, you can get all that for sleep. So, just to mention a few, those things that sleep does in layman times. Then reason why we can just, allow ourselves not to sleep. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for that insight, Dr. Stephen. All right. But you know how some people have touted from books, from certain sports online, and let me just put it this way: people have shared their ideal time or amount of sleep for certain individuals. So for an adult working class person now, right, how much sleep should that person be getting on an average? It's been touted that you need 6 hours, you need 7, some will say 8, some will say 9, while some will say, you know what, you just need 5 hours. So how much sleep should a working class adult be getting on an average?
Okay, thank you very much. So when it comes to sleeping time, it varies depending on the age, right? But you rightly said hours for a working adult. So let's start. For children, maybe from birth to 3 months, they sleep as much as 17 hours to 14 hours.
True.
And then as you go older, the need for sleep drops, right? Children maybe around 10 to 12 hours, but for working adults, based on research studies, recommended amount of hours that is recommended is between 7 to 9 hours of sleep for a working class. So for an average adult, recommended proven hours that beneficial run on the human body is about 7 to 9 hours. So most adults should try to get about 7 to 9 hours of sleep.
Okay. I'm sure Lagos is listening.
And well, that is really something difficult in Lagos. It's true. So what I tell people is, like I said, there's something difficult in a densely populated metropolitan city like Lagos, traffic and all that. And I tell people to try as much as possible, try to get close to that recommended hours, right? So at the time, if you can still do, right? But anything below that, you might be looking at a long-term effect of sleep deprivation.
So
thank you.
Now that we're even talking about sleep deprivation, what are the effects that sleep deprivation can, aside, I know it makes you very antsy, you're not fully there. Sometimes, like you've also mentioned, your brain isn't fully intact, or not never say intact, but it's not fully aware, it's not working as it's supposed to, because sometimes your memory is short and a lot of other things. But I'd like you to speak to that.
So when we talk about the effect of sleep deprivation, we can take you from the benefit of sleep. So since I've outlined the benefit of sleep, therefore any individual who is not getting enough quality sleep would then have an issue with all the benefit of sleep. So if you take it from the heart problems issues to psychological problems, right? So those are the things we're talking about. There is a strong relationship with poor sleep and cardiovascular disease like hypertension, right? And also we found that sleep regulates the blood pressure. So individuals who are not sleeping very they tend to have hypertension, which is a major risk factor for cardiovascular disease. And don't also forget, I mentioned that sleep inflammation. When you have inflammatory process going on, it destroys the blood vessels and allow fat to deposit on the blood vessels, and then that can affect coronary the arteries that supply the heart. So there is a strong relationship with sleep deprivation and coronary arterial disease that leads to heart attack. Then we don't talk about the effect in terms of immunity. If you're not sleeping very well, your immune system is affected, right? And then that can affect your predisposition to diseases. And then weight loss. And then when we talk about mental health issues, right, that comes about with anxiety disorder, depression, even food. So an individual with sleep deprived would suffer for, all these factors I've talked about, right? Even in terms of their productivity at work, right? Ability to make decision, because concentration is affected, ability to correct, vital information when it's needed. The system is kind of slow. It's like it's overheated. You've not had time, Then, so to mention just a few of these, so those are the things that you predispose yourself to, when you're not able to get adequate sleep.
All right. Thank you so much for that insight. But, one of the things that you touched on is insomnia. Some people suffer from it. They don't know how they came about it, but is it something that can be treated?
Yes, it can be treated. And when you talk about insomnia, you talk about, is it an acute or a chronic thing, right?
Okay.
And so you also want to talk about what is the cause of insomnia.
Right.
And sometimes when you talk about how people develop insomnia, it can be stress-related factors, right?
Okay.
It can be, stress-related factors, other factors, stress from work, family pressure, or people who went to traumatic events. Right? You see some people who are victims of war, the whole horrific situation they've seen or exposed to can then affect them in their sleep. And then sometimes irregular sleep schedules, right? Those things or poor sleeping habit, those are the things that can cause, insomnia. Now, so when it comes to treatment, one of the things you talk about is lifestyle adjustment, right? Sleep hygiene, having a good sleep hygiene.
Okay.
Another thing in managing that, you can talk about counseling, right? So we talk about, don't forget, one of the factors that can cause sleep deprivation, also mental health conditions, right? So some sleep deprivation can be tied to some mental health conditions. So individuals, there's what called cognitive behavioral therapy, where we can help with insomnia, and then you also have medications. And so some people can then also be given medications in managing the sleep.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's a whole lot. Okay, I have a question here, but I feel we can take it in. You can respond to this in a minute or less. It says, good evening. My greatest problem is I hardly sleep for more than 3 hours, especially after resigning from my regular job as a network surveillance engineer. However, some people have suggested taking heavy alcohol before I get to sleep, but I know that would even make it worse. Thankfully, that if you take alcohol before you sleep, it's not going to work. It's only going to worsen your situation. So, your thoughts on that, Dr. Stephen?
Okay. So the issue you're having, like you rightly said, is the fact of and those are some causes of insomnia. Your occupation keeps you a bad sleeping habit, and then the body is then adjusted to that. And so people who suffer from that, after they've left their job, they're not able to return to their normal sleep pattern, and then that develops a problem.
Okay.
So it takes a while. So they can benefit from therapy, seeing a sleep therapist to look into that, and look at also adjust lifestyle habits. Okay. But it's going to take a while, because and those are some of the conditions you have. People, maybe night guards who are always awake for 5-10 years. Your body, just like it has changed, and then you stop. You don't expect your sleeping pattern to return. So it might take a lot of therapy and a lot of time and lifestyle modification before you can get that sleep pattern again.
All right.
And like you already said, alcohol is a good thing for sleep. In fact, one of the things that can lead to insomnia are substance. Tobacco, alcohol, caffeine, all those stimulants will worsen your sleep problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all that insight that you shared today. And I'm sure that Lagos has learned a thing or two, especially regarding, insomnia and how to balance things at the end of the day. I trust you have yourself a pleasant evening as you go on. All right. For you, I know that some people have learned a lot this evening. However, to get more insight on things that you need to do, you can reach out to AXA Mansard on their website. That is www.axamansard.com, or you can call their toll-free line. That is 0700 AXA Mansard, and the social media handles are also available for you to reach out to them to ask further questions, as well as know how to deal with things on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, it is at AXA Mansard. However, on Instagram, it is at AXA Mansard _. Well, AXA Mansard Safe Cruise comes your way Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So till Friday, we'll bring you something more interesting as well. Do stay safe and take care of your health.
AXA Mansard Safe Cruise. Brought to you by AXA Mansard Insurance PLC. AXA, know you can.